I looked deeply into health and well-being and discovered so much about fertility and getting pregnant because my daughter got cancer. And when you go through a battle like that, it really does give you a completely different perspective on life and things. It certainly humbles you, but it also gives you a deeper determination to find reasons and solutions that are profoundly meaningful and practical. So what I want to do is quickly tell you a story. I remember my daughter was 2, and she was having a bath, and we could see an unusual lump on her side, and we thought, well, that's not right. So straight to the doctor the next day, and he said, oh, I think it could be a liver, something else. He thought it might have been something else, but let's get an ultrasound. Next day, ultrasound, and of course you're a little bit worried in that moment because it's your daughter and you love her. And anyway, so we're having the ultrasound. Literally within 5 minutes, he looked at us and said, oh, I think you better get her straight to the children's hospital. Of course, we then start to panic. Straight to the children's hospital and lots of tests, all those things, and you're in panic mode at that stage because you know something's wrong. And long story short, they came back and said, we think she has cancer of the kidney, and it was called a Wilms tumour, which is essentially a tumour in the kidney, and the prognosis was that we were to get the kidney out and have 18 weeks of chemo. And with that, she had a 95% survival rate. But between knowing she had something and not knowing what it was horrific. It just, you think you're going to lose your little baby, all those things. And it certainly changes you as a person, but it was one of those experiences. I remember then going in for the 18 weeks of chemo, sitting in the cancer ward at the children's hospital every week, every Tuesday for 18 weeks. And probably halfway through, I remember sitting there, and you get to know some of the other parents, and you see the other kids in that cancer ward with tubes hanging out of their noses, and it wasn't a good experience in that sense. But I remember sitting there thinking, gee, we can send people to the moon, and we can send probes to Mars and get photos, all these amazing things, and we can't cure cancer. It just, something didn't feel right, and I thought, this is not right. So anyway, long story short to that is that what it did is it sent me down a path of research like I was manic, like beyond normal human being stuff. I would, I just looked at everything. If someone was making a claim, I would search every footnote, who funded the research, all of those sorts of things. And I ended up finding sort of half a dozen people that I knew were telling the truth, because there's no way they could have withstood what I was doing to find out whether they were telling the truth. And I found out some amazing things. Look, I always had an interest in health, and back 20, 30 years ago almost now, showing my age now, but I looked at things, and I used to compartmentalize it into sort of the 3/3 of living, which is where that came from, and that is your activity patterns and your eating habits and your coping skills. And if you can attend to all 3 of those things, you're going to give yourself a pretty good chance. And I got this off a guy that long ago, 20 years ago, and he used to say that you can have 4 things in it. You can have 4 things to excess: vegetables, fish, laughter, and sex, but not all at once, because it makes a hell of a mess. And he was a funny guy, but the point he was making was profound. And so it sent me on a journey. And I used to think health and well-being was like a game of Russian roulette, where you're just waiting to when it's your turn, and things were completely out of your control. And I don't know if anybody out there listening to this feels like that, but I used to feel like that. I feel completely in control now, because I know where things fit. But that's not a good way to live. You don't want to believe that things are completely out of your control, because they're not. And when you strongly believe and feel that, it just gives you so much confidence to forge your way through life. And what I also found in my research was that everything is driven by money and power. And I used to think health and well-being was different to that, but it isn't. At the genesis of everything is money and power. Behind every decision, behind everything you see, ask yourself, where's the money and where's the power? And once you understand that, it changes everything. So look, the moral of the story is that if you want to get pregnant, stop believing what the mainstream is telling you, and start taking control of your own health. Stop eating bad foods. Take the 90 nutrients every day from the earth in amounts relative to your body weight. Be as active as you can be, and take clear actions to bring calmness to your life. There is more detail, but if you have the bigger picture sorted out, you'll know where the detail fits. My daughter's story sent me on a journey I didn't choose, but what I found on it changed my life in a profound way, and I hope sharing this story can shift your thinking in the right direction in a way that truly makes this story worth sharing.